Nowadays, most popular games let you sink at least a good 100 hours in. And while it's not hard to want to commit your life to a few weeks of Skyrim, everyone needs a break from so many insanely long games every now and then. Data shows that the vast majority of us don't even finish games whatsoever, but say that you do want to hit some credits and feel that sense of satisfaction without losing a piece of yourself in the process. Well, as many of us have found thanks to completely removing any travel time and living indoors across the majority of 2020, making the effort to hit credits on as many titles as possible is a mighty sweet feeling. In many cases, there are titles you can fully 100% in just one glorious day of pure gaming. And when your loved one / significant other / prison guard comes in asking, "What have you done all day?" you need only point to that glorious final trophy. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games you can 100% in just hours. Number 10, SPYRO the Dragon. Time, 8.5 hours. If you want a spot of well-timed nostalgia, you can't do much better than completing all of the original Spyro. While 8.5 hours isn't a small amount of time, it is impressive to think you can blast your way through what was likely a childhood favourite that took about half a school term at the time in just a third of a day. You were likely less of an accomplished gamer in your younger years, and now you can hop through the artisans and onto those hot air balloons in no time. To be fair, this short completion time is also because you'd likely gather most of what you need in a regular run, only missing the more obscure collectibles along the way. While it can be a pain to trace your steps like a purple-pink panther in search of one meddlesome gem, it's definitely worth it for banking this legendary platformer in one sitting. Number 9, Manual Samuel. Time, 6.5 hours. A game where you control the breathing, blinking, and walking of a character all at once, Manual Samuel has slowly found its way into the same streamers game faux genre as I Am Bread, Surgeon Simulator, or Moving Out. 100% completion will require looking at the achievement list and strategizing, or just looking at a guide. I mean, look, I didn't say that these 100% completions came naturally as one afternoon sittings, but that they were doable. In Manual Samuel's case, feats like blinking 2,000 times or finishing a level whilst barely breathing are the perfect kinds of ridiculous to chip away at. Number 8, Evoland. Time, 6.5 hours. Okay, Evoland is one of the coolest ideas for a game I've ever seen. Playing as character Clink, it's a love letter to the history of RPGs. You literally start in side-scrolly 80s NES territory, moving through color palettes and even shifting into PS1/N64 3D rendering, before continuing to get more refined. To mirror the ways RPGs have changed over the years, Evoland has you unlock these better graphics and better controls for your character, making it feel like you've played decades of gaming in one short sitting. Sadly, the whole thing isn't very long, and Evoland's main campaign can be finished in around 3 hours. Getting 100% then only takes around 3 more, but does mean that you get to explore 7 secret areas, unless you clock them on your first time through. Back to the concept for this thing one last time though, because other than the messenger letting you switch between NES and SNES rendering as a gameplay mechanic, way more developers need to get on the idea of traveling between time and generations inside games. Number 7, Off. Time, 6 hours. Off, also known by its full name, Off, a nice game for cute children, is one of the wildest rides a free game can provide. An old-school turn-based RPG crafted by a lone developer, Off sees you play as a renegade baseball player known as the Batter. This mysterious sportsman fights his way through a surreal and nightmarish land of sugar, smiling cats, and monsters, all with the aim of purifying everything around him. Off also makes the smart decision of being fairly short, with a single playthrough lasting around 5 hours. A full complete run will only then take you another hour, consisting of an alternate ending that you need to prepare for. Both good and bad endings are surprisingly emotional and worthwhile, and there's another secret ending with space monkeys talking over the world, just if you need a pick-me-up. Number 6, SUPERHOT VR. Time, 5 hours. Oh god, I adore SUPERHOT. I'm not sponsored by the developers whatsoever, but if you've tried it, how much fun is this series? Anyway, both former SUPERHOT titles, the 2016 original and SUPERHOT VR, are phenomenally addictive shooters. Set around the premise of time stuck at a crawl until you move, gently nudging the stick lets you dodge bullets, catch weapons out the sky, and just all round be a super badass. SUPERHOT VR then is a tight 5 hours to 100%. Its story is around an hour 30, and all additional trophies are centered on things that you would be doing loads of anyway. Killing someone without looking, killing 100 dudes with a shotgun, throwing every single item in a level. There's even a trophy set aside for doing all of this in one sitting. Of all the games that quote-unquote work in a single sitting, SUPERHOT is one that I heartily recommend devoting a whole afternoon to. Number 5. The Wolf Among Us. Time, 8.5 hours. Based on the hugely successful Fables comic series, A Wolf Among Us explores the life of Sheriff Bigby Wolf, and his attempts to keep the peace amongst the humanized fairy tale characters that live around him. Much like other Telltale games, 100%ing Wolf Among Us only requires a touch more effort from the player, taking about 2 hours more than a regular run through the game. If you remember the choices you made in each chapter, you then have a pretty good chance of seeing everything else on your second run. The only quote-unquote negative is that playing Bigby as a cuddly guy who wouldn't harm a fly only then sets you up for him inverting everything and going full big bad wolf at certain times. So long as you can stand the guilt of making the sheriff rip off some arms and be mean to some children, a fully completed game awaits you in a matter of hours. Number 4. Monster Loves You. Time, 5.5 hours. Given a regular game of Monster Loves You takes roughly 15 minutes to complete, it's almost impressive that completing the entirety of it takes around 10 times that. This is because the game has an almost intimidating number of endings, which when combined with extra achievements for maxing stats, beefs the playtime by a huge amount. As each route gives you a different look at the world of monsters and their war with the humans, the more routes that you play, the more that you learn about this weird and wonderful world, all makes it come together. Also, for a game that you might have picked up on a whim, there's a surprisingly deep story here. Learning about the history, customs, and politics of the monster world is pretty awesome and engaging, even if it can get more than a little gross every now and then. You'll just have to play to see what I mean. The fact you'll have to replay this several times to get all of the endings means that after everything you've seen, at least you can tailor that final positive playthrough to go out on a high. Number 3. Untitled Goose Game. Time, 5 hours. Everything before the current situation kind of feels like a lifetime ago, but remember Untitled Goose Game? This thing was everywhere for a good couple of months, and what a game it is too. A neat Hitman adjacent stealth title where you're messing with AI scripts to solve puzzles and progress. It's a blessing that Untitled Goose Game has an extra 2 hours for all of us who just want to continue honking aggressively. The extra to-do options you unlock after beating the game are slightly more challenging, especially the quickly variants, which have you doing tasks under specific time limits. Some aren't very easy either, like dragging half the items in a level past all of the authority figures to gather on a specific picnic blanket. While these extra tasks are more annoying in places, they do open up scenes that you can't get on your first playthrough. One is making the groundskeeper and shopkeeper get in a fight, one of the most awful and hilarious things you can do in the whole game. Fully completing Untitled Goose Game unlocks a crown for your goose to wear, but the jury is out on whether it looks better than the ribbon you get first time through. Number 2. TATTLETAIL. Time, 2 hours. Horror has to be one of the most subjective subject matters out there. What you find scary, I might call Jules Gill, and what I find scary, you might call being able to beat someone at Smash Bros. It's one of gaming's most popular genres, and whilst there are hundreds of titles out there catering to everything from Slender Men to Silent Hills, very few star a demonic Furby whose mother is hunting down your prepubescent soul. Yes, TATTLETAIL is all about getting in on that Five Nights at Freddy's market, but for a relatively short title, it nails an effective atmosphere, having over an hour of extras for a complete run. Based around steering directly into what's terrifying you, there are 22 eggs to find to unlock a secret ending. However, this is all providing you can explore knowing that you're on the verge of being killed at all times. And number 1, Shikondo Soul Eater. Time, 1 hour. Everyone likes a good old-fashioned bullet hell game. A good old-fashioned bullet hell game you can totally complete in an hour is even better. Enter Shikondo Soul Eater, a Korean shooter that lets you take down armies of evil demonic yokai to protect the world. This is a surprisingly gorgeous game, connoting the old school likes of Okami or Beautiful Joe with its inky traditionalist style. Trophy/achievement wise, everything is geared to hoover up in one sitting. A sitting that rarely seems to reach past an hour, as the main campaign and majority of milestones will trigger in just half an hour. Others you can mop up in no time, and the only real quote-unquote snag is the double drop trophy. Here you'll need to finish the local co-op with someone in real life to actually get it. Flying totally under the radar but available on all 3 major platforms, if you manage to 100% Shikondo, its fluid feel and the allure of climbing the leaderboards will still get you back for more. And those are just a selection of video games you can 100% in around an afternoon. Let me know your favourites down in the comments below, and please check out the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll catch you soon.